Hey guys, and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we've got my Nectar deck profile for Standard, which features the new cards from Clan Selection Volume 1 for Stampioni and the other Maidenovs. Now, Nectar is basically the only clan I play in Standard. I own Spike Bros, but I don't want to play it, so I've basically tried very hard to make this as competitive as possible, and it's gone pretty well. I've had success. I've had the usual bad hands, but without further ado, get straight into the deck profile. So, on the table with my Nectar Simp Brigade, let's get straight into it. So, obviously we've got the starter, same old, same old. For grade 3s, we're obviously playing the 4 Stampioni. 1 SP because no one else owns any. This is a very good card for the standard version. It takes it from Arsh's build, which is just me swing of big Flower Fairy token, to more of like a sort of resource game-esque, where you're trying to get as big a power as possible on the first round of attacks, to then swing with tokens on the second round, which are all 30k columns. So you don't really want to have tokens out beforehand, because obviously the tokens are only 5k boosters. So you want to use cards that use your tokens beforehand to gain advantage, to then retire those cards, gain tokens, and then retire those tokens with Maiden of Flower Carpet. So to do so, we have our second grade 3, which I played 2 of, is Exploding Tomato. So there is an alternative to this. You can play it. There are some alternatives, which we'll go over at the end. But this is what I found to be one of the better grade 3s. It sucks to ride, but like any grade 3 that isn't Stampioni sucks to ride anyway. So because this one gives you obviously a card draw as well as 10k, making it bigger on the rear guard, and with synergy with Maiden of Nepenthes, which will come up in just a second, I found this is really good, because not only with Nepenthes can you increase its critical to 2 and have 2 columns of critical 2 without having to swing Vanguard or have to write the Vanguard twice. It can also create 2 tokens in itself. So in of itself, it's 2 tokens, which if you're struggling for tokens if you're struggling for cards for Stampioni, that can sometimes come up. I don't use it very often myself, because I don't like retiring the token behind the Vanguard for Stampioni's effect, but it can come up. Then, obviously, next, as I said, we've got Maiden of Nepenthes, which is a new card. It was a promo in Japan, and we've just got it from Clan Selection. Skill, retire a token unit once per turn to gain 5k boost and draw a card, which is, again, it's just card advantage off tokens, which are already free real estate. So its second ability is when it boosts a rear guard grade 3, it can give the unit a critical, and at the end of battle, put it into Soul, which obviously helps with Tomato putting on pressure, having Tomato gain 10k, and it being 2 crit, so it means you don't have to put Tomato on the Force 2. And it just says retire a token, draw a card, if not anything else, which is really good for not only the grade 2 token rush turn, but just for keeping up the card advantage later on in the game. And speaking of keeping up advantage, we've got Anelma, which is Cam +1, Soul +1, call a token, draw a card. Pretty simple, keeps up your tokens and draws your cards. You just need the card draw in this deck. His second ability is pretty much irrelevant, but if you have a unit on your rearguard circle with the same name as your grade 3 Vanguard, she gains boost. More relevant in the Arsha build, obviously, but it could come up sometimes here. Then, next, we obviously have the new Clan Selection Grade 2. Well, technically the second new Clan Selection Grade 2 for us anyway, us over in the West. But Maiden of Fulvine, which is on place if it was placed on top of a token unit, or a plant token actually. She gains 5k and you draw a card. Again, just saying, draw a card off your tokens. Because there's so many cards in Nectar that create plant tokens now, this card just says, instead of just making a token, it makes a 15k beta with a draw card. So it replaces herself as well as the token. Then, the last grade 2, where I'm playing 14 grade 2s, I believe that is. 14 grade 2s. The last one is a Teal of Sylvia. So, I was playing 4 of this and 2 Nepenthes, but I realized that it's actually not that amazing in this build, because there's so many cards that give you tokens. Obviously, you've got Anelma, you've got the Maiden of Stampioni that gives you tokens, as well as some of the grade 1s. So I decided to cut 2 of her for the other 2 of the Pemphases, because I wanted more cards that drew me cards off from the token, not just make them. But obviously she is a pretty like staple card in Nectar these days. She's really good on the grade 2 turn and all that. Moving on to grade 1s. We've got our new clan section 1, which is Maiden of Flower Carpet. This is personally one of my favourite cards in clan section for Neo Nectar. It's just an on-place create a plant token, same as like Sweetberry, Sylvia, all that. But her second effect is the one that like makes her my favourite, which is end of turn you can retire 2 plant tokens from your field to bounce it back to hand. Hard once per turn, so you can only use 1 of her per turn. Not really sure why they did that, probably just because they didn't want you getting 20k boost every turn. But this is honestly a sick card because obviously you call it, creates a token. This can swing for like 13 if need be, or you can like call the full vine over to make a 23k column, draw cards. Then you retire like those 2 cards for Stand Peony, call 2 tokens, and then you retire the front row tokens for her, so that they can't like retire them or bind them or anything like that. Or you can retire back row if like let's say the opponent's rear guards need your opponent must control no front row rear guards, you can leave the front rows and retire the back row. Lots of options, and it's just a 10k shield every turn. If not, then call it back the next turn and call out another token. It's a really good resource, man. It's a really good card that just constantly comes back. It's always there, thanks to Stand Peony. And because we're playing only 6 grade 2s, we do need a bit of grade 3 searching, which is where Padme comes in. So Padme, pretty soon, I don't need to tell you the effect, but her 5k effect doesn't come up very often. She's usually just got rid of most of the time, or there's no tokens on the field. But it's just that grade 3 searching. We have 6 grade 3s. We need to be able to find one. Then we've got 3 Maiden of Maiden of Sweetberry, which is just on place, core token, and then if your Vanguard's grade 3, Soul Charge 1, non-optional. The Soul Charge effect never comes up. Obviously, in this deck, we don't need the Soul Charge like we do in Arsha. Then the second effect, which is just 5k, she gains 5k if your Vanguard's grade 3, that sometimes comes up. Obviously, for Stand Peony, the first range of attacks, that can sometimes make a difference, the 5k, but not very often. It's just a token creator. I had to make sure that I had the correct proportion of token creators and tokens that create cards that create advantage from tokens. So she was like the next best one next to sort of Sylvia. And now I am playing a bit of a interesting 2 of in my grade 1s, which is Maiden of Dream Shower. This one's quite interesting. It's on place, Canvas 1, give all your current plant tokens 10k until the end of turn. So she can sometimes come up and sort of help push that first range of that first round of attacks through. Obviously, if you've got like token, if you've got a field that kind of looks like this, then obviously calling her, canvassing 1, 10k makes these 30k, like they will be after Stand Peony. So now let's say you've rode Stand Peony twice, you've got 2 Force 2s. That is now 30-30, both at 2 critical, Vanguard, then 30-30, both at 2 critical. And it can be quite big. Obviously, that does require you to have a field for the tokens, but obviously if you're in the grind game and let's say you Stand Peony and just got like obviously you just retired and brought back your Flower Carpet, you'll have at least 3 tokens, and that will help. It's just sort of that little extra push for that first range of attacks, because the first range can sometimes feel a bit weak. Then, moving on to triggers, which I have not sorted. It's not anything special, it's just the 4, 8, and then this is 11 crit, because I only own 3 Sentinel crits. So, there's also a draw PG in here. We're going to pretend, because we're on YouTube and we can do that, we're going to pretend this is a critical. This would be a crit if I had one, but at the moment it's just a draw PG. And then obviously 4 heal. Triggers are pretty standard. Now, in terms of cards that you could play over some other cards, obviously you could play draw PGs over the Sentinel crits, if you so choose so. You could play a higher rate, you could sort of swap out the Pemphases for Sylvia's, stuff like that. You can play Arboros as your backup grade 3. So you could, obviously he is when he's on Vanguard Circle, all your tokens called become 10k tokens with boost and intercept, which sometimes comes up. You know, the 10k intercept is quite nice. He's also retire a rare guard to call 2 pine tokens. So in of himself, he could obviously just call himself, retire himself, and then call 2 tokens, or he can retire another unit to call 2 tokens. And then if you have 5 or more rare guards, he gains 10k, which is a nice little power boost. You could play Diane, which is obviously on place, discard a card, draw a card, give you Vanguard 5,000 power. The Vanguard power is pretty much irrelevant. It's a nice filtering option, I suppose. But again, like, my goal for this deck was to create as much advantage from my token units as possible. So that is why, like, I'm playing 4 of Enelma, 4 of Nepenthes, and 4 of Fulvine, because it's just a case of I want my grade 2s to create as much advantage from tokens as possible. Obviously, Enelma does both. Fulvine and Nepenthes only do 1, but there are enough token creators. It's about, if I remember, there's obviously 15 token creators with the Stampiones. I don't count Tomato as a token creator because obviously he's only doing it in battle phase. And then there's 15 token creators and 14 cards that use tokens for advantage gain, and I think that's a good ratio. Right, so that was the deck profile. If you guys have tried your own Stampione builds, please, and they differ to mine, please feel free to tell me in the comments. I want to, obviously I want to be able to play Nectar to the best ability as possible. So I'm open to comments. Don't forget to obviously like and subscribe. Gotta tell that. I wouldn't be a good YouTuber if I didn't say it. And I shall see you in the next video.